you're planning on booking a Hawaii vacation, I have 7 tips to make planning your vacation just a little bit easier. Hi, my name is Amy. I'm a travel agent and a travel blogger. I specialize in Hawaii, and on this channel, we share tips for travel to a lot of destinations, including Hawaii. But as a travel agent, I specialize in Hawaii, and I love booking Hawaii vacations and talking all things Hawaii travel tips. So before we get started, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more Hawaii travel tips, hotel reviews, things to do in Hawaii, and so much more. So here are 7 secrets to booking the best Hawaii vacation. Number 1, say work with a travel agent. So I understand that as a travel agent, it seems kind of funny for me to say work with a travel agent, but it can really make your trip a lot easier. Working with a travel agent who is specialized in Hawaii can just make your whole planning process so much easier. And it will save you a lot of time and maybe a little bit of money too. Sometimes we have access to rates that are not available to the general public, but really the advantage of working with a travel agent isn't so much in saving money, but saving time. But you never know, we might be able to save you a little bit of money too, and just a lot of hassle. So I will just share some of my reviews here and let them speak for themselves as to why you should work with a travel agent who is specialized in Hawaii. Tip number 2, travel in the off season. I understand this is not always possible, especially if you're traveling with kids. Sometimes you need to travel over the Christmas and New Year's holidays or Thanksgiving or just in the summer. But just keep in mind that anytime when kids are out of school, pretty much anywhere, but especially Hawaii, is going to be very busy. So it's really going to be a better experience for you overall if you're able to travel outside of that busy season. Now, if you absolutely have to travel within school dates, like around the summer, the earlier in the summer or the later in the summer are going to be a lot better than right in the middle, just because you might have some people in certain places that are already back to school by mid to late August, or maybe not out of school yet in May. So there is a little bit of wiggle room with that, but your best option, honestly, is traveling maybe March, April, September, October. Those are really great times to go to Hawaii. Tip number 3 is to book as far in advance as possible. So flights with most airlines are published 330 days prior to travel, and most hotels start to share their availability about a year out. So you can generally plan your Hawaii vacation about a year in advance. Now, you don't have to plan it a year in advance, but the further in advance you can plan, the better, simply due to being able to have a lot more options and availability. And this is especially the case if you do have to travel during those peak travel times like Christmas or the summer holidays. So planning in advance gives you a lot more flexibility in terms of where to stay, and also planning last minute can be more expensive. So I definitely recommend planning as early as you can. Number 4, choose the right island for you. A lot of people automatically go to Oahu because they think that it's the main island, or even worse, sometimes people go to the Big Island thinking that it's Oahu because they think main island and Big Island are the same, and they're so a lot of people will go to Waikiki, and they think this is not the experience that I was expecting. I was thinking like a beautiful, maybe kind of quiet beach, and it's just so not like that. So make sure to do some research on which island is going to be best for you. I do have a blog post about this, which I will link in the description below. It can be really helpful just to kind of see a quick overview of the islands and which one you want to visit. And just something to keep in mind, that the best island for someone else may not be the best island for you. So somebody might really love a particular island for whatever reason, but make sure that you have the same interests as them before just going somewhere because your friend or your aunt or whoever told you to. Number 5 kind of goes along the same lines, but it's really, be careful about island hopping and don't try to visit them all. It's almost impossible to do this unless you have 3 or 4 weeks. Now, you can visit multiple islands in one trip, but I would recommend that you have 5 days per island if you possibly can. You're going to get better rates on your hotels typically when you're at that 5-day mark, and you're just not going to feel rushed in your vacation, because island hopping isn't as easy as it sounds. It's very difficult, although possible, to go, like, for example, if you're staying on Maui and you want to go to the Big Island and see the active volcano, you can fly there. The only way between islands is flying. There's no bridges, there's no ferries. So you can fly there, but you have to, of course, have that time to get to the airport, and then you have to get there early because TSA lines can be long. You have to have that actual flight. It's only about a 35-minute flight, but then you have to, get your car or whatever you're doing and you have to go to wherever you want to go. It ends up being a several hour experience. And the same thing is true when you're going from island to island to island during your trip. A lot of people think they can do 2 days per island. You can, but it's going to feel very rushed and chaotic. So just be really careful about trying to hop to all the different islands or trying to do them all. Pick the 1 or 2 that are right for you, unless you have 3 or 4 weeks, and then, visit them all. That's just fine. Number 6 is to rent a car. Now, renting a car is really not an option on Hawaii, Maui, or the Big Island. On Oahu, it's optional. There's really good transportation or public transportation. On Oahu, Uber is super easy and readily available. On the other islands, not so much, and things are a little bit more spread out. But even on Oahu, I would recommend renting a car if you can. I know that parking is expensive, but I would still recommend renting a car if you can, because there's so much more to Oahu than just Waikiki. And you really want to be able to experience a lot of the other things around Oahu, like Kualoa Ranch or Haleiwa on the North Shore. There's so many things that you can do and see, and so many great hikes, and there's so many better beaches than Waikiki Beach. So I really recommend renting a car on any island if you can. I really like Discount Hawaii Rental Car. I will leave their info in the description. They work with all the biggest companies, so Hertz, Budget, Enterprise, all of those, and they have the best rates for car rentals in Hawaii. Number 7, and this is probably the most important one, is to avoid being a bad tourist. You don't want to be the person who's leaving your trash on the beach or trespassing or getting too close to the wildlife. And I know that sounds really obvious, but some things aren't always obvious, and then common sense isn't always common either. There are a lot of influencers online that will tell you to go certain places and that it's fine. Stairway to Heaven is one that comes to mind. I have these conversations with my clients all the time. But there are a lot of things you definitely shouldn't be doing just because somebody online said that it was okay. Trespassing is a big one. And a lot of times if you hear things about tourists getting into it with locals, it's usually over the tourist harassing wildlife or going somewhere they're not supposed to go or being disrespectful around a sacred site, something like that. So make sure to really kind of learn before you go. And I have a couple of different blog posts about this. I have 30 things you should never do in Hawaii. I have 10 things to know before going to Hawaii. I will leave those in the description below. So those are just some simple tips to make planning your Hawaii trip a little bit easier. I will leave my info in the description below. If you'd like to work with a travel agent, make sure to like this video and subscribe for more Hawaii travel tips.